The spaceship landed softly on the purple soil of Zalarian. Captain John Miller took a deep breath as the airlock hissed open. He was the first human to set foot on this alien world. His heart beat faster as he stepped onto the ramp. The air smelled like cinnamon and rain. Strange birds with 6 wings flew in the orange sky. 2 large moons hung low on the horizon even though it was daytime. John adjusted his translator device and straightened his blue uniform. As Earth's ambassador, he needed to make a good first impression. "Remember, Captain, this mission is about peace," said the voice of General Wilson through his earpiece. "The Zellery reached out to us. They have technology we need. Don't mess this up." John nodded even though the general couldn't see him. "I understand the mission, sir." 5 tall Zellery waited at the bottom of the ramp. Their skin shimmered like opals in the sunlight. They had 2 arms and 2 legs like humans, but their fingers were longer and their eyes were larger. The tallest one stepped forward. His skin had more blue tones than the others. "Welcome to Zalarian, human. I am Zorak's first advisor to Queen Illyria. She waits for you in the Crystal Palace." He pointed to a gleaming structure on a distant hill. It caught the light and broke it into rainbows. "Thank you for the welcome," John said. "I bring greetings from Earth." The journey to the palace took an hour in a floating vehicle that made no sound. John watched the alien landscape pass by. Fields of purple grass waved in the breeze. Strange animals with 6 legs grazed peacefully. Zellery cities looked like collections of crystals growing from the ground. "Your world is beautiful," John said to Zorax. "It has been peaceful for 500 years, the alien replied. "We hope relations with Earth will continue that peace." The Crystal Palace grew larger as they approached. It wasn't just one building, but many connected towers and domes that seemed to grow from the mountain. Guards with silver armor stood at the entrance. They bowed to Zorax and let the group pass. Inside, the palace was even more impressive. The walls were transparent in some places and glowed with soft light in others. John saw strange plants growing from the walls and ceiling. Water flowed in channels along the floor. "The Queen waits in the greeting hall," Zorax said. He led John through twisting corridors that seemed to change color as they walked. Finally, they entered a large round room with a high ceiling. Sunlight streamed through crystal windows, creating patterns on the floor. At the far end, on a simple throne made of what looked like white coral, sat Queen Illyria. John's breath caught in his throat. The queen was unlike any Zalari he had seen so far. Her skin had more colors than the others, shifting from blue to purple to green as she moved. A delicate crown-like structure grew from her forehead, glowing softly. But it was her eyes that held John's attention, large, bright violet, and filled with intelligence. "Captain John Miller of Earth," Zorax announced. "Your Majesty," John bowed deeply. "Queen Illyria, I bring greetings and friendship from Earth." The queen stood. She was taller than John by a few inches. "Welcome, Captain Miller. We have waited many cycles to meet humans face to face." Her voice was musical, and John's translator device couldn't quite capture its quality. She stepped down from her throne and walked toward him. The other Zalari in the room seemed surprised by this. "Your Majesty," Zorax said quickly. "The traditional greeting can be performed from—" "I know our traditions, First Advisor," Illyria said, "but this is a historic day. Some traditions can be set aside." She stopped in front of John and extended her hand, palm up. John had been briefed on this. He placed his hand, palm down, above hers, not touching but close enough to feel. "Warmth, Earth and Zalarian," she said. "2 worlds reaching toward each other." "2 worlds in friendship," John replied. The queen smiled, and John felt something unexpected, a connection. It was as if an invisible thread had formed between them in that moment. "Come," she said. "We have much to discuss." The next few days were filled with meetings. John met with Zalari scientists, leaders, and teachers. He shared information about Earth, and they taught him about their world. The Zalari were interested in human art and music. They shared their advanced medical knowledge and clean energy technology. Each night, Queen Illyria invited John to dine with her and her advisors. John noticed that she asked more questions than anyone else. She wanted to know about Earth's oceans, deserts, and mountains. She asked about human families, education, and dreams. "Do humans look at the stars and wonder?" she asked one evening, as they stood on a balcony after dinner. "Every night," John replied. "That's why we're here. We've always wondered what's out there." "We are not so different then," she said softly, as days turned into weeks. John found himself looking forward to these conversations with the Queen. He began to notice small things about her, how she tilted her head when curious, how her skin rippled with color when she laughed, how she sometimes looked sad when she thought no one was watching. One day, a month into his stay, Illyria suggested they visit the sacred gardens alone. "Your Majesty, that would not be proper," Zorax protested. "I wish to show Captain Miller our world's heart," she said firmly. "And I do not need protection from our honored guest." The sacred gardens were unlike anything John had ever seen. Trees with crystal leaves grew alongside flowers that changed shape as they watched. Small creatures that looked like floating jellyfish drifted through the air. "This garden has grown here since before we built the palace," Illyria explained. "My ancestors believed this is where life on Zalarian began." "It's beautiful," John said. "Honestly, John," she said, using his first name for the first time, "what do you think of our world?" "I think it's amazing." "Your people have created something wonderful here." "And what do you think of me?" she asked quietly. The question caught him off guard. He looked at her, really looked at her. Despite her alien appearance, he had grown to see her beauty, her wisdom, her gentle strength. "I think you're the most remarkable person I've ever met," he said truthfully. Something changed in her eyes. She reached out slowly and, breaking all protocol, gently touched his hand with hers. A small spark jumped between them. "There is something happening between our worlds, John Miller," she said. "And perhaps between us as well." John knew he should pull his hand away. He knew there were 1,000 reasons why this connection was impossible. But he didn't move. Instead, he turned his hand and gently held hers. In that garden, under the orange sky of an alien world, with the 2 moons now rising in the distance, Captain John Miller realized he was falling in love with the Queen of Zalarian, and by the way she looked at him, with wonder and warmth in her violet eyes, he suspected she might feel the same. 3 months passed on Zalarian. The orange leaves on the crystal trees changed to deep blue, marking the beginning of the cool season. John Miller spent his days in meetings with Zalari scientists and leaders, but his evenings belonged to Queen Illyria. They were careful at first. Their meetings looked official to outside eyes. They discussed trade agreements and knowledge exchange programs, but between the formal words, they shared glances and small smiles that meant much more. "Your Earth music is so full of emotion," Illyria said one evening as they sat in her private garden. John had shared recordings of classical music, jazz, and folk songs from around Earth. "Does Zalari music not express feelings?" John asked. "Our music is mathematical," she explained. "We find beauty in perfect patterns, but it lacks this ... heart." She placed her hand over her chest. "Everything your people create has heart." John smiled. "And everything your people make has incredible beauty and precision." "Perhaps we need both," she said softly. Later that week, Lisa Bennett, John's communication officer, cornered him in the Earth delegation's quarters. "Captain, we need to talk," she said, her eyes serious. "The crew is talking about you and the Queen." John kept his face neutral. "The Queen and I have developed a good working relationship. It's helping our mission." Lisa shook her head. "John, I've known you for 7 years. This is more than diplomatic relations, and you know it." She lowered her voice. "The alliance between our worlds is too important. Whatever's happening between you and the Queen, it can't lead anywhere good." "I know what I'm doing, Lisa," John said. But a part of him wondered if that was true. That same day, in the Crystal Palace, Illyria faced similar concerns. Zorax and the High Council requested an urgent meeting with her. "Your Majesty," Zorax began, his skin pulsing with worried blue patterns, "we must discuss your relationship with the human captain." Captain Miller is Earth's ambassador, Illyria said calmly. Our relationship is diplomatic. Elder Vea, the oldest council member, stepped forward. Her skin was pale and her crown-like structure fully developed with age. My queen, we have served the royal line for generations. We know when a queen's colors change. Your skin shows patterns we have not seen in many years. Patterns of attachment. Another council member added. Zorax bowed his head respectfully but continued. Your Majesty, you have a sacred duty to maintain the royal lineage. In 3 cycles, the choosing ceremony will select your genetic match from among our people. You will need to produce an heir with a suitable Zalari mate. Illyria stood tall, her skin flashing with defiant colors. I am aware of my duties, First Advisor. The choosing ceremony is still months away. We merely caution patience and wisdom, Elder Vea said. Humans are fascinating, but they are not our kind. That night, Illyria sent a private message to John, asking him to meet her at the Crystal Falls, away from the palace and prying eyes. The Crystal Falls was a sacred place, where glowing water poured over rocks that sang when touched by the liquid. John arrived first and waited nervously. When Illyria appeared, she wore simple clothes instead of her royal garments. Without her formal attire, she looked younger and somehow more real to John. I'm glad you came, she said. We need to talk away from everyone. They walked beside the singing falls. The sound created a private space around them. The High Council is concerned about us, she admitted. My crew is too, John said. Lisa warned me today. Illyria stopped walking and turned to face him. What are we doing, John? Is this just curiosity between 2 different species? John took a deep breath. Not for me. What I feel for you is real. How can it be real? Look at us. She held up her 4-fingered hand with its shimmering skin next to his 5-fingered human hand. We are from different worlds. But when we talk, when we share ideas and thoughts, none of that seems to matter, John said. I've never connected with anyone the way I connect with you. The singing water created patterns of light around them. Illyria's violet eyes reflected the glow. There is something I should tell you, she said slowly. Zalari queens are different. From other Zalari, we are chosen for genetic uniqueness. Our bodies can adapt to ensure the strength of our species. What does that mean? John asked. It means I sense things in you that call to me. Things that should be impossible between our kinds. Her skin rippled with colors John had never seen before. John stepped closer to her. On Earth we have a saying. The heart wants what the heart wants? Do Zalari have hearts like humans? She asked. I don't know, John said. But whatever the equivalent is, I think mine has chosen you. Illyria reached out slowly and placed her hand against John's chest. She could feel his heart beating. Through his uniform, John placed his hand over hers. This breaks every protocol, she whispered. I know. If the council knew, they don't have to know, not yet. Illyria looked into his eyes. I have studied humans since your ship entered our system. You are so brief, so passionate, so full of contradictions. You live maybe 100 years, while Zalari live 300. Yet you accomplish so much in that time. Is that good or bad? John asked with a small smile. It is fascinating. She moved closer. You are fascinating, John Miller. Under the light of Zalarian's 3 moons, with the crystal falls singing beside them, John leaned down and Illyria reached up. Their lips met in a kiss that defied biology, protocol, and the vast distance between their worlds. The kiss sent a small shock through both of them. Illyria's skin glowed brightly, illuminating the area around them. When they pulled apart, both were breathing faster. That was ... John started. Unexpected. Illyria finished, but not unpleasant. They both laughed, the tension broken. For the next 2 weeks, they met in secret. Sometimes in the sacred gardens, sometimes at the Crystal Falls, they learned about each other's worlds, shared stories of their childhoods, and discovered that, despite their differences, they shared similar hopes and dreams. John taught Illyria about Earth customs like handshakes and dancing. Illyria showed John how Zalari communicated through skin colors and light patterns. Together, they created their own private language of gestures and expressions that only they understood. During a rare planetary alignment when all 3 moons lined up in the sky, the Zilari held a great celebration. With everyone distracted by the festivities, John and Illyria slipped away to the highest tower of the Crystal Palace. "Look at our worlds, John," Illyria said, pointing to the stars. "Somewhere up there is your Earth." "So far away, yet it brought me to you," he replied. Under the aligned moons, they made a promise to each other. Whatever came next, whatever challenges they faced, they would face them together. Neither of them could have guessed how soon those challenges would come, or how much their worlds would change because of the love that had grown between them. 6 weeks passed since the night of the 3 aligned moons. The diplomatic mission was almost complete. The treaty between Earth and Zilarion was nearly ready to sign. John felt pride in what they had accomplished, but also sadness. Soon he would need to return to Earth. He had not seen Illyria for 3 days. She had missed their scheduled meetings and sent messages canceling their private time together. The official reason was that the Queen was busy with final treaty preparations. John felt uneasy. "Captain, we've got a problem," Lisa said, entering his quarters one morning. "The Zilari High Council has called an emergency session. They're not letting any humans attend. Did they say why?" John asked. "No, but there are rumors." Lisa lowered her voice. "Some say the Queen has fallen ill?" John's heart raced with worry. "Have they requested medical help?" "We could offer." "They've refused all offers," Lisa said, "and there's more. Your meeting with Illyria today has been cancelled. Again." John tried to stay calm. "I'll speak with Zorax. There must be an explanation." But Zorax was not available. None of the High Council would speak with the Earth delegation. For 2 days, the palace was filled with Zilari moving quickly through the halls, their skin patterns showing worry and confusion. John sent messages to Illyria, but received no reply. On the 3rd day, a young Zilari attendant named Miri came to John's quarters. "Captain Miller," she said quietly, "the Queen requests your presence, in private." John followed Miri through hidden passages in the Crystal Palace. They avoided the main halls and took service corridors until they reached the Queen's private chambers. Miri left him at the door. The room inside was dimly lit. Crystal lamps gave off a soft blue glow. John saw Illyria standing by the window, looking out at the city below. "Illyria," he said, forgetting formal titles in his relief. "I was worried." She turned to face him, and John gasped. Her appearance had changed. Her skin glowed with a brightness he had never seen before. The colors shifted more quickly, flowing like water across her body. But most surprising was a new, rounded fullness to her normally slender form. "John," she said, her voice carrying both joy and fear, "I'm sorry I couldn't see you sooner. The council has been difficult. Are you ill?" he asked, stepping closer. She gave a small laugh. "No, not ill." She took a deep breath. "There's something you need to know, John, something that will change everything between our worlds." John waited, his heart pounding. "Zilari reproduction is rare and sacred," she explained. "Queens can only conceive when there is true genetic compatibility. It was thought to be impossible with other species." She placed her hands on her slightly. "Rounded middle, but it seems those theories were wrong." John's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "I'm pregnant with your child, human," she said, her voice filled with wonder. John stared at her, unable to speak. His mind raced with questions, confusion, and amazement. "How is this possible?" he finally managed to ask. "I told you before, Zilari. Queens are different. Our bodies can adapt, change at the genetic level. It has never happened with another species before, but ... double quotes," he smiled. "You are full of surprises, John Miller." John stepped forward and gently placed his hand on her middle. He felt a small flutter under his palm. "Our child," he whispered. "Yes," she said, "half human, half Zilari." The enormity of it hit John. The council. That's why they've been meeting. Illyria nodded. "They are in chaos. Some are angry, some are afraid, some are fascinated. Elder Via believes this was meant to happen, that it is part of an ancient prophecy. Zorax thinks it threatens everything Zalari stand for. And you? John asked. What do you think? I am scared, she admitted, but also happy. This child is proof that our worlds are not as different as we thought. John pulled her into his arms. Whatever happens, I'm here. I won't leave you. The treaty signing is in 2 days, she reminded him. Your ship leaves after that. Then I won't get on it, John said firmly. Later that day, John sought out Dr. Daniel Wright, the mission's chief medical officer. He was the only human John trusted with this secret. I need to talk to you, John said, closing the door to Daniel's lab. It's confidential, beyond confidential. Daniel looked up from his work. Sounds serious, Captain. It's about the Queen. John said. He hesitated, then decided to be direct. She's pregnant with my child. Daniel dropped the instrument he was holding. That's not possible. It's happening, John insisted. I need to know if it's safe. For her, for the baby. Daniel shook his head in disbelief. Captain, the genetic differences between humans and Zalari are too vast. Their DNA structure isn't even the same as ours. It would be like a fish and a bird having offspring. But Zalari queens are different, John explained. Their genetics can adapt. Even so ... Daniel paced the small lab. This is unprecedented. I'd need to run tests, see the actual genetic structure. Can you do that secretly? John asked. Daniel nodded slowly. I'll need a sample from the Queen and Captain ... If this is true, it changes everything we know about biology, evolution, genetics. It suggests humans and Zalari might share some common ancestry, despite evolving on different planets. Or it suggests something else, John said. Something we don't understand yet. The next day, news of the Queen's condition leaked to the Zalari public. The Crystal City buzzed with rumors. John could feel the stares as he walked through the palace. Some Zalari looked at him with wonder, others with disgust. By evening, the Earth delegation had heard the rumors too. Admiral Peter Johnson, who had arrived to oversee the treaty signing, summoned John to the Earth ship. Captain Miller, the Admiral said, his voice cold. Tell me these rumors aren't true. John stood at attention. Sir, the situation is complex. Is the Zalari Queen carrying your child? Yes or no? Yes, sir, John answered. The Admiral slammed his fist on the table. Do you have any idea what you've done? This could destroy the treaty, the alliance, everything we've worked for. Or it could strengthen it, John argued. This child represents the ultimate union between our species. This child represents a biological impossibility that will terrify half the population of Earth. The Admiral shouted, You're to return home immediately. We'll send a replacement for the treaty signing. John shook his head. I can't do that, sir. That's an order, Captain. John removed his captain's insignia and placed it on the table. Then I resign my commission. As John left the ship, he knew there was no going back. He had chosen his path. Now he had to face whatever came next for Illyria, for their child, and for the future of both their worlds. Word of the Queen's pregnancy spread fast. Within days, both Earth and Zalarian were in turmoil. The treaty signing was postponed as leaders from both worlds tried to understand what this meant for their future relations on Earth. People had many different reactions. Some religious groups called the baby an abomination. Others saw it as a miracle. Scientists wanted to study the child. Politicians argued about what it meant for Earth security. John watched the news reports from Illyria's private chambers. He had moved into the Crystal Palace after resigning from his position. He felt strange without his uniform, but Illyria had given him Zalari clothes that fit well enough. They're afraid, John said, turning off the screen showing Earth news. My people are afraid too, Illyria replied. She sat on a cushioned bench, her hand resting on her growing middle. Zalari pregnancies moved faster than human ones. In just a few weeks, her body had changed significantly. Zorax has called for me to step down, she said quietly. He says I've broken sacred traditions. John sat beside her and took her hand. What will you do? I am still queen, she said with determination. And I believe this child is important. Not just for us, but for both our worlds. A soft chime interrupted them. The door opened to reveal Dr. Daniel Wright and Elder Vea. The old Zalari and the human doctor had formed an unlikely alliance, working together to monitor Illyria's pregnancy. "Your Majesty," Daniel said with a small bow, "we have results from our latest tests." "Is everything okay?" John asked quickly. Elder Vea's skin rippled with colors of excitement. "More than okay, human. The child is ... remarkable." Daniel nodded in agreement. "The genetic structure is unlike anything we've seen. The baby has taken the best aspects of both species. Human adaptability with Zalari intelligence and lifespan. The prophecies speak of a bridge between worlds," Elder Vea said. "A child of stars who would unite the divided." John had heard Elder Vea mention these prophecies before, but he remained skeptical. That could mean anything. "Perhaps," the old Zalari agreed. "But consider this. We have searched our oldest records. There are cave paintings from before we built cities that show beings like us meeting beings like you." "What are you saying?" Illyria asked. "I believe our species may have met before, thousands of years ago," Elder Vea explained. "Perhaps even share common ancestors from somewhere else in the stars." Daniel cleared his throat. "That's speculation. But what's certain is that the child is healthy and developing rapidly. Your Majesty, we estimate birth will occur in about 2 months. So soon?" John asked in surprise. "Zalari gestation is naturally faster than human," Daniel explained, "and this child seems eager to join the world." After the doctor and elder left, John paced the room. 2 months. "We need to prepare." "For the birth?" Illyria asked. "For everything," John replied. "We need to decide where the child will live, what rights they'll have, how to protect them." Before Illyria could answer, another chime sounded. This time it was Miri, looking worried. "Your Majesty," she said breathlessly. "A ship has arrived from Earth. Admiral Hayes requests an audience." John tensed. "Karen Hayes? She's my superior officer." "A former superior," Illyria reminded him gently. "Tell the Admiral we will meet her in 1 hour," she instructed Miri after. Miri left. Illyria stood and summoned her royal garments with a wave of her hand. The crystal-embedded fabric flowed around her, adjusting to her new shape. "You don't have to do this," John said. "I can meet her alone." "No," Illyria said firmly. "We face this together." Admiral Karen Hayes was waiting in the greeting hall when they arrived. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and a stern face. 2 Earth security officers stood behind her. "Captain Miller," she said, then corrected herself. "Mr. Miller, Admiral," John nodded respectfully. "Allow me to present Queen Illyria of Zalarian." The Admiral bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, what brings you to our world, Admiral Hayes?" Illyria asked, taking her seat on the throne. John stood beside her, a position that made the Earth officers exchange glances. "I've been sent to extract John Miller and bring him home," Hayes said directly. "This situation has created a diplomatic crisis. And if I choose not to go?" John asked. Hayes sighed. "John, this is bigger than you. Earth scientists need to understand how this pregnancy is even possible. There are concerns about biological compatibility, genetic engineering, even weaponization." "Weaponization?" Illyria's skin flashed with anger. "This child is not a weapon." "Some on Earth fear it could be," Hayes explained. "Or that the technology that made this possible could be used to create biological weapons." "There is no technology," John said firmly. "This happened naturally." Hayes looked skeptical. "Nothing about this is natural, John." Before the conversation could continue, a loud boom shook the palace. Alarms began to sound as Zalari guards rushed into the room. "We're under attack," one guard shouted. "Rebels in the East Tower!" Zorax burst into the room, his skin pale with fear. "Your Majesty, you must get to safety. A group of traditionalists has breached the palace. They're demanding you step down and ... end the abomination." John moved protectively in front of Illyria. "Where's the safest place?" "The sacred chamber, below the palace," Zorax said. Hayes stepped forward. "My officers and I will help. This is an attack on a diplomatic ally." As they hurried through the palace corridors, another explosion rocked the building. Crystal shards fell from the ceiling. John helped Illyria navigate the debris. "This way," Zorax directed them to a hidden passage. The small group made their way down spiraling stairs. They could hear shouting and fighting above them. When they reached the sacred chamber, Zorax sealed the heavy doors behind them. The chamber was small but beautiful, with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal. In the center was a pool of glowing liquid. "We'll be safe here," Zorax assured them. "These walls have stood for 10,000 years." Illyria sank onto a bench, her hands protectively covering her middle. "My people are fighting each other because of me." "Because of us?" John corrected, sitting beside her. Hayes stood awkwardly to one side with her officers. "For what it's worth," she said finally. "I didn't come here just to bring you back, John. Earth is divided on this issue too. Many see your child as a symbol of hope, a new beginning for both species." A small tremor shook the chamber. "They're trying to break in," one of Hayes' officers said, checking a device in his hand. "They won't succeed," Zorax assured them. "But we may be here for some time." John took Illyria's hand. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never meant to bring this danger to you or your people." Illyria's skin glowed softly in the dim light. "Our child was meant to be, John. Elder Vea is right. This is part of something bigger than us." As if in response to her words, Illyria suddenly gasped and doubled over. "What's wrong?" John asked in alarm. "The baby," she said, her voice strained. "It's come in." Daniel had said 2 months, but the stress of the attack seemed to have triggered early labor. John looked around in panic. "We need Dr. Wright," he said to Zorax, "and Elder Vea." "It's too dangerous to open the doors," Zorax replied. "Admiral." Hay stepped forward. "One of my officers has medical training." She nodded to a young woman who immediately moved to Illyria's side. As the sounds of fighting continued above them, John held Illyria's hand and prepared for the birth of their child. A birth that would change 2 worlds forever. Illyria's labor lasted for 6 hours in the sacred chamber. John never left her side. Admiral Hayes and her officer with medical training helped as best they could. Zorax stood guard at the sealed door, listening to the fighting that continued. "Above, you're doing great," John whispered to Illyria, wiping her forehead with a cool cloth. Her skin changed colors rapidly with each contraction, flashing from blue to purple to white. "The baby is coming soon," said Hayes' medical officer. "I can see the head. Is it ... normal?" Zorax asked nervously from his position by the door. No one answered because no one knew what normal should look like for a human Zellari baby. John held Illyria's hand tightly as she pushed one final time. A cry filled the sacred chamber. Not quite a human baby's cry, not quite alien, but strong and clear. "It's a girl," the medical officer announced. Wrapping the newborn in a soft cloth that Zorax had provided, John looked down at his daughter in wonder. She had Illyria's iridescent skin, but it was a softer glow than full Zellari. Her eyes, when she opened them briefly, were brown like John's. On her forehead was a small bump where someday a crown-like structure might grow. "She's beautiful," John whispered. "Perfect," Illyria agreed, her voice tired but happy. "Our daughter." The fighting above had stopped. The chamber was quiet except for the baby's occasional coos and gurgles. "What will you name her?" Admiral Hayes asked, her earlier sternness softened by the miracle she had witnessed. Illyria and John looked at each other. They had discussed names, but never decided. "Nova," Illyria said finally. "It means new star in both our languages." "Nova," John repeated, touching his daughter's cheek gently. "Hello, Nova." A loud bang at the door made everyone jump. Zorax moved protectively in front of the royal family. "Your Majesty?" called a voice from the other side. "It's Elder Vea. The palace is secure." Zorax carefully unsealed the heavy door. Elder Vea entered, followed by Dr. Wright. Both looked tired but relieved. "The rebels have been captured," Elder Vea announced. Most of the fighting stopped when they heard the child was coming. Dr. Wright hurried to Illyria's side to check on her and the baby. "Amazing," he murmured as he examined Nova. "She's perfectly Healthy, a perfect blend of both species. The High Council is waiting above, Elder Vea said. And there are transmissions coming in from Earth. Everyone wants to know about the child. John looked at Illyria. She was exhausted from the birth. They can wait, he said firmly. No, Illyria said, struggling to sit up. Help me, John. They need to see. Everyone needs to see our daughter. With John's support, Illyria stood. She held Nova close to her chest. Together, the small family made their way up the spiral stairs, followed by their unlikely group of protectors. In the greeting hall, the High Council waited nervously. Many had supported Zorax's opposition to the human Zalari relationship. They fell silent when they saw Illyria with the baby. Illyria stood tall despite her exhaustion. High Council of Zalarian, I present to you Nova, daughter of Earth and Zalarian, bridge between our worlds. One by one, the council members approached to look at the child. Even those who had been most opposed seemed changed by what they saw. Zorax was the last to approach. He had been John's greatest opponent from the beginning. He studied Nova for a long moment, then dropped to one knee. The prophecy speaks true, he said, his voice filled with awe. The child's genetic pattern matches the sacred symbols exactly. Dr. Wright looked skeptical. What sacred symbols? Elder Vea led them to a wall in the greeting hall. With a wave of her hand, the crystal surface changed to reveal ancient markings. John recognized patterns that looked like DNA structures, but arranged in a way he had never seen before. These were carved 10,000 years ago, Elder Vea explained. They describe a being who would unite the stars, carrying the blood of two worlds. It could be coincidence, Admiral Hayes said. Perhaps, Illyria agreed. But does it matter? What matters is that Nova exists. She proves our species can come together. 3 months later, the Crystal Palace was hosting a very different gathering. Representatives from Earth and Zalarian stood together in the sacred garden to witness the formal recognition of Nova as heir to the Zalari throne and citizen of Earth. John, now wearing special ceremonial robes that marked him as the Queen's consort, stood proudly beside Illyria. Nova had grown quickly, already able to hold her head up and looking around with curious eyes. Admiral Hayes, now Earth's official ambassador to Zalarian, read the declaration. With this treaty, we recognize the union of our worlds through the family of Queen Illyria and John Miller, and through their daughter Nova, first of a new generation that belongs to both stars. Zorax, who had become Nova's most devoted protector, presented the child with a small circlet made of earth silver and Zalari crystal. May she grow to lead both our peoples with wisdom, he said. After the ceremony, John and Illyria walked alone. In the garden with Nova, the baby reached for the crystal flowers with tiny hands that had 5 fingers, like her father's but shimmered like her mother's. Dr. Wright says her DNA is stabilizing, John told Illyria. He thinks she live as long as a Zalari but heal as quickly as a human. She have both our strengths. And scientists have confirmed Elder Vea's theory, Illyria added. The ancient cave paintings show that humans and Zalari did meet thousands of years ago. Some alien race may have seeded both our planets with life. So we're distant cousins after all, John said with a smile. Very distant, Illyria agreed, leaning against him. But Nova brings us closer. In the year that followed, more humans came to Zalarian to study and work. A permanent Earth embassy was established in the Crystal City. Zalari scientists traveled to Earth to share their knowledge of clean energy and advanced medicine. And in the Crystal Palace, Nova grew strong and bright. Sometimes her skin would glow with Zalari patterns. Sometimes her laugh would sound perfectly human. She was neither one nor the other, but something new and wonderful. One evening, as Nova slept peacefully in her crystal cradle, John found Illyria on the balcony looking at the stars. What are you thinking about? He asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. About how much has changed, she said. A year ago I was just a queen meeting an alien ambassador. Now I'm a mother to a child who represents the future of two worlds. Are you happy? John asked. Illyria turned in his arms and placed her hand on his chest, feeling his heart beat as she had that first time by the crystal falls. More than I ever thought possible, she said. Our daughter will grow up in a universe where Earth and Zalarian work together, where differences are celebrated, not feared. Above them, the three moons of Zalarian aligned once again, casting their light on the Crystal City. And somewhere in the stars between Earth and Zalarian, perhaps other worlds waited to join the growing family of planets united by understanding, cooperation, and love. Nova, the new star, would light the way.